If you have ever wondered how much of my personal story should I share with my readers, you are definitely not alone. Someone left an incredible comment on my last storytelling video asking, how do you tell meaningful, emotional, even difficult stories without giving too much or even traumatizing your readers? So today, that's what we're going to talk about. How can you share your truth while still protecting your boundaries and still creating powerful connections with your audience? Hi, everyone. I'm Melissa Bourbon, author, writing coach, lover of all things story related and storytelling. Please remember to like and subscribe to Bourbon and Books. And thank you. Okay, here's something I really believe. You don't owe anyone information about your deepest trauma. You get to choose what wisdom you want to share from it. And that's what we're talking about. The comment that inspired this video said something I found to be really beautiful. She reframed a painful personal experience into a character moment, and it helped both her and her readers. So, that is the power of storytelling. That is why we do this work, to connect, to have an impact. But she also asked, what if the real story is too intense to actually tell? What if the truth is upsetting or private or just, you can't share it, triggering, something like that? Basically, you can still share meaning even if you don't share the details. And I have a variety of techniques on how you can do that. Let's dig in. The first technique is to share the lesson, but sort of not the log line, right? Here's the first thing. It is so freeing once you embrace it. You do not have to recount what happened. You can share what you learned from what happened. The lesson is yours to pass on. The details are yours to keep. Let's look at a simple example. Instead of writing something like, someone betrayed me in a way that blew up my life, you might say instead, I learned what it feels like when trust fractures, and that experience inspired a moment in my book where my character realizes she isn't alone or as alone as she thinks. Readers get the heart of the experience without needing a play-by-play. They don't have to know the event. What you're giving them is the meaning, the takeaway. How do you put this into a newsletter? When you're tempted to describe the whole scene, who said what, how it unfolded, what you felt moment by moment, stop for a second and ask, what was the lesson? What insight did this moment give you about yourself or your writing or your character? And every time, that's the part your audience actually will connect with. So instead of recounting the argument you had or the job you lost or the diagnosis or the heartbreak or the betrayal or the heavy thing you carried, instead, share the internal shift. I learned to stop shrinking. I learned what my breaking point really was. I learned how strong boundaries can save your sanity. I learned that grace doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. These are the things your readers resonate with, and they can apply that to their own lives. When you think in themes instead of events, you are thinking universally. Themes are universal, events are personal. When you share themes like resilience, disappointment, surprise, grace, boundaries, forgiveness, hope after loss, things like that, your readers lean in and they connect with that because they can see themselves in those universal moments. When you share events, they can't always follow you and they can't always make that connection. And so you risk sharing more than you intended to, and you don't need to do that. You get to choose what you give your audience. And generally speaking, the theme and the takeaway is enough. This really works in storytelling, especially in newsletters, because it is all about connection, not your confession about something. When you offer the lesson that you learned, your readers are going to walk away feeling more inspired or seen or supported or grounded or connected to you or ready to reflect on their own stories. That is a really powerful element of author newsletters. Here's another technique, and I love this one. It's especially powerful when you're writing personal stories for your newsletter, which is what we're talking about. If something is too close, too raw, too complicated to share as is, you build in emotional distance. And this lets you be authentic without exposing yourself. And there are 3 ways that I see you can do this. The first is to shift the timeline. So instead of presenting something as if it just happened, You can frame it with time and perspective. So, years ago, or back when I was going through a tough season, or as I look back now, these kind of phrases automatically signal to readers that you're safe, you're grounded. This isn't an emotional emergency that is happening right now, it's wisdom that you gained from something in your past. How do you use this in a newsletter? Well, you can tell the story the way your older, wiser self understands it now. Again, what you learned, what changed, what you didn't know then that you know now. This transforms the vulnerability component into value. Your story becomes a guidepost, sort of, not a wound, and your readers know that you're okay. You can also use metaphor or symbolism. If the actual details feel too personal, too heavy, you can translate that experience into metaphor. So something like, there was a season of my life when I felt like I was walking through a fog, or it was trying to hold on to water, or everything in my world felt really loud except for me. So metaphors create emotional truth without factual experience. Again, readers are going to connect to the feeling, not to the specifics. When you pair the metaphor with the takeaway, so for example, my fog eventually started to clear when I did X, Y, or Z, or I finally realized the water I was trying to hold wasn't mine to carry. So you're still sharing something meaningful, but again, the private details stay yours. It's just like you're speaking around the experience. The third way is to speak through one of your characters. You can say something like, the moment in my character's journey came from something I felt in my own life. That's enough. Readers don't need, again, the whole origin story or the whole down and dirty details of what happened to you. The meaning is what matters. You can share the behind the scenes process without naming the personal event. You can say something like, I wrote this scene because I know what it feels like to fear losing someone or to lose someone. Or this chapter grew out of a moment in my life when I learned what resilience really meant. Again, that takeaway. So your readers get to feel closer to you, but your boundaries, you're creating these boundaries and they stay completely intact. When you're writing about emotional or intense experiences in your newsletter, think about the shape of the story instead of the details. So, what emotion were you moving through? What shifted? What changed? What did the moment teach you or your character? Or later on, what did it teach you? Maybe it didn't happen right away. And then think about what your readers can take from this. So think about that universal idea. Share the lesson, the feeling, the arc, but don't need to share the blow by blow, because great newsletter storytelling, in my opinion, isn't about confessions. It's about connection. Again, it's you saying something like, here's something I lived, learned, or noticed. Maybe it will help you too. My third technique is to consider your readers' safety. The comment that I got on my last storytelling video mentioned something really, really important. And I want to highlight that because we all need to keep this in mind. Some realities are horrifying. Some personal experiences are traumatic. Some truths, if they're shared in detail, can genuinely harm or trigger people, your readers. So how do you talk about these things responsibly? Here's the rule that I kind of come back to. Context determines comfort. So your readers can handle difficult ideas if you give them the right frame. If a real dictator's crimes are too graphic to describe, you don't need to do that. Your story isn't a documentary, right? It's an emotional journey. So instead of focusing on the blow by blow facts, shift to the impact the research had on you, the themes it sparked in your story, the larger ideas you want the reader to think about, the emotional truth you carried into the narrative. So this is giving your readers some clarity without overwhelming imagery that can be triggering or can be upsetting. So when you want to share something dark or intense as an inspiration behind a story, you can focus on things like what you learned. Instead of describing cruelty, share the insight. I was struck by how ordinary people become complicit in such terrible systems, for example, or like the history made me think so deeply about power and vulnerability. In your newsletter, you can focus on, again, what you learned. Instead of describing cruelty, Share the insight. I was struck by how ordinary people become complicit in terrible systems. The history made me think deeply about power and vulnerability. So you're thinking and conveying, again, what you learned. You can also look at what emotion something stirred in you. So, this is a really safe way to express the weight of something without graphic detail. You can say it unsettled me. It kept me awake for days because it felt so real or so possible. It reminded me how fragile compassion can be. So, you're focusing on the emotions rather than the details of the event. It's kind of like showing versus telling, right? You're not telling them what happened, you're showing them sort of the impact that it had on you. Finally, you can look at how that emotion shaped your story. And here's where you create connection without sort of trauma dumping. That sense of dread helped me understand my villain's worldview, or that research cracked open the moral question at the center of my book. Like, what would you risk to protect your humanity? Or that unsettling feeling became the atmosphere of my world. So here's an example. Instead of describing atrocities, for example, you might write something like, in my research, I learned how dangerous unchecked power can become, and that understanding shaped the moral core of my villain. I didn't need to include the graphic details to use the emotional truth of what I discovered. This is giving your reader insight, emotional resonance, connection to your writing process, and thematic depth. It is not, though, giving them trauma or graphic detail or violating anyone's emotional safety. So it's a safe way to kind of dig into the story without giving away too much. You do not want to shock your readers. The goal with connection and with telling your stories is to illuminate. Your readers come to your newsletter because they trust you. They have a connection with you. When you're sharing things rooted in, darkness or grief or historical horror or, anything that could be triggering, the safest way to honor that trust is to talk about the meaning, the emotion, the impact, and the transformation, not the trauma itself, not those down and dirty details. You're giving readers an anchor, not the trauma. Okay, the fourth technique I have is to share only what you've processed. And here's a rule that I believe really, really works. You share from scars, not from wounds. So again, you're showing that you've healed or that you're past this experience. If you're still in the experience, if it still feels raw or confusing or heavy or emotionally slippery, then it's not ready for your newsletter, right? You haven't processed through it, and it's going to trigger something in yourself. So don't share in that moment. You don't owe your readers any kind of immediate transparency. You only owe them clarity, perspective, and meaning. So sharing before you've processed something can not be great. Sharing before you've processed something can lead to oversharing by accident, emotional dumping instead of storytelling, or giving too many details because you're still sorting them out, or leaving readers unsure how to feel. And that's not fair to you or to them. So when you share from a scar, meaning that moment when you've been healed or are healed enough, instead of the open wound, you're speaking from a place of sort of integration rather than impact or shock. You're sharing something you've already metabolized into wisdom, something that you can hold and shape and offer in a way that serves your audience rather than, upsetting them or seeking comfort from them, actually. So your job is not to bleed on the page, right? Your job is to connect, to offer resonance, to light the path ahead for someone else, to just to help. To that connection is helpful. And you can only do that when you are grounded. Here is a framework that you can use for this type of storytelling. It's a simple formula I use when I want to share something personal in my newsletters, but it's something that maybe is rooted in some strong emotion or a past difficulty. It can help keep your story meaningful without veering into that TMI trauma territory. First, here's the feeling, not the event. So start with the emotional truth. I felt overwhelmed. I felt small. I felt hopeful again for the first time in months. Readers don't need the specific event. Again, they need the emotion that they can relate to. 2, here's the insight, what it taught me. So this is the part that transforms your story from personal to universal. It taught me that rest is not a reward, or it reminded me how easy it is to lose myself in expectations, or it showed me that fear and excitement often feel the same at first. So, this is where your story starts giving something back to the reader. And then three is a bridge, how it relates to writing or creativity or the story that you're telling. So this is the step that turns your personal story into a teaching moment. You can talk about why this is why my protagonist avoids conflict. This is the moment that shaped the theme of my new book, or this reminded me that creativity requires space, not pressure. The bridge is what makes your story relevant to your audience and not just about you, and you're reconnecting it to your book. Fourth is the invitation, what you want your readers to reflect on, sort of that, call to action. You can end with something like, where in your life are you holding your breath? Or what's one fear you've outgrown without realizing it? So you're not asking them what trauma they're in right now, but what have they processed through? What's a belief you're ready to release? These things create connection, conversation, and community. In your newsletter, it helps you keep things honest but not raw, vulnerable but not like a confessional, reflective but not super heavy, personal but still about the reader and these universal components. So, your job is to share stories that help your readers understand their stories better, not to hand them all the messy details of yours. This framework, those 4 steps, will help you do that. Personal storytelling, you guys, is powerful. It builds trust. It does create community. It gives your readers a window into why you write the stories you do. But your privacy also matters, and you don't want to trigger somebody. You don't want to upset your readers. And their emotional safety matters. Your stories, the real ones, are yours to share selectively, thoughtfully, or not at all. You can be honest without being exposed. You can be authentic without being unfiltered. And you can definitely be vulnerable without giving away the parts of your life that are meant to stay yours. If you're interested in a dedicated video on how to turn personal truth into character development or how to write emotional transformation using lived experiences, let me know in the comments. I would love to build that for you. Remember to like and subscribe to this video, share with your friends. It takes a village, and we are that village. I'm Melissa Bourbon. Until next time, happy writing, happy pinning.
Ain't never needed Poppy's blessing, no. You need keep working just to get it, though. I know she carried your whole world.